The world is disgusting. The world is beautiful. The question is, can you and can I, very humble people, make any difference to it and make it a little bit more beautiful, just a tiny bit less disgusting? I think there has never been a better time, a more interesting time for this to happen. Because the originality of these last years, this century, is that the institutions and the beliefs which used to hold society together are in a state of collapse. And we no longer believe so fervently as we were able to do for a couple of centuries that forming nations was going to solve all our problems because the nations are going bankrupt. And we no longer think that making more money will enable everybody to become rich, because we know that most people are poor. And our institutions are no longer respected. I spoke to one of the judges of the Supreme Court, one of the top judges in England, and I asked him, is there any justice in England? And after a while he said, there used to be, but there isn't now. But if there is no justice, and those of you who talk about wanting social justice, where are you going to get it? Because it does not exist. And what has been happening more recently is that we have developed this idea that we're all going to become happy. And the government has spent £2 million asking you, are you happy? And most of you reply, yes. So, and he believes it. And of course, our government wants everybody to be happy because that means they won't start a revolution. And it conceals all the misery and the difficulties and the stress which is increasing in the world. And we used to think that war could solve our problems, and armies are given vast sums of money to train, to prepare, and to develop new technologies. And when we do have a war, it produces absolute chaos, as it happened in Libya, for example. So, it is not satisfactory to do what is being done at the moment, and which you may be tempted to attempt also, which is to repair the system, because it is like an old car, and it may work for another 5 years and then it will collapse again and you have another crisis. And the question now is, where can you go next? What is the big adventure of our time? And we have a chance now to think that up. And what I want to urge you, what I want this meeting to be pioneers of something which has not been attempted before. You have all come with very interesting qualifications, and I've read what you have said in your applications, and you all have, in each one I see a sort of talent. The question is, how can you bring your talents to work in a particular direction so that at the end of it you feel that you are doing something which, as one of you just said, which has more meaning and which is appropriate to the aspirations of our time. And we mustn't assume that it is a question of repetition of doing what we have done before. That we cannot help doing what we have done before. This is inevitable. But let us see what there is possible. Now, when I question people about what matters most to them, what are the forces which are still powerful in society, there are two which come out top. One is the family, and one is friendship. And the two are connected because the family is trying to become a friendship. In the past, the family was a monarchy, with a father was the king, and the children obeyed, and the women shut up, and that was how it was organized, on a military model. That was how private life copied public life. And everybody wanted to be a petty king, But now we have had a protest and rebellion of people, and so family is trying to become a friendship. And friendship means getting to know another person, and getting to know them so well that you feel you feel what they feel, you get inside their skin. And the great mystery of our time, therefore, is to discover what goes on in other people's heads. And it is very difficult because they themselves don't know what is going on in their own heads. But this is, to me, the great adventure of our time, because in the past we have focused on discovering the Earth, and now we're going to the Moon and the universe and so on, and that's in the physical world. And then we went into natural science and we discovered what the plants are doing, what the fish are doing, and all the molecules, and we see that they're not what they appear to be. And now we are seeing that the great mystery, what we don't know about most, is what human beings are. And here am I surrounded by all of you, and I have no idea what is going on in your head, though I can guess there's a bit of boredom and a bit of etc. But what makes you what you are? Now, we have moved in the past century in the direction of trying to find out what is going on in people's heads, but I think we have gone in the wrong direction and we have got stuck, because for the past century we have gone into introspection and we have said, who am I? Let us find out, let us look into ourselves. And this has produced, first of all, it is not a very happy result when you discover who you are, because you're never, either you're not satisfied with who you are, or you are very pleased with yourself, and both situations seem unsatisfactory. In any case, it is false what you think about yourself, because what other people think about you is usually very different. And you need other people to not only to tell you who you are, but also to interact with, in order to discover, through this interaction, how you can develop and become something more than what you are. There is a sort of very conservative ideology which has been developed, saying that what you must do is develop the talents which are within you. Well, most of us don't have many talents. And if we had to just develop the talents in one, that would be pretty feeble. We need to catch talents from other people. And we need to expand beyond what we are ourselves. And I think the most effective way of doing that is in the way that friendship develops, which is one-to-one. You get the most intense form of interaction between two people when you speak to one person and you speak to them for a very long time, and this happens most in families, and above all in relationships between two people, two young people or older people who are trying to see whether they have something in common or how they can be useful to each other. And this is our main preoccupation, how to find others who enhance our living and make us feel more alive. And that is what I think is superseding the doctrine that we just have to look inside ourselves. I am saying adventure now is to say, who are you? And what we can do is use all our different skills to find out who other people are, and to bring it out, and to change in the process of discovering, to change who people are. And whereas in the past we thought we could solve it all by political means, liberty, equality, fraternity. Well, as you know, our liberties are being diminished, and we haven't obtained from them all we could hope. We may be able to speak freely in certain circumstances, not many, but we're not guaranteed that anybody will listen. Equality, of course, is nowhere near having been improved. the last 200 years, and it's not likely it's going to improve in the next 10 years. And fraternity, of course, has become more like what happens to brothers who fight and quarrel. So I think what we are seeking more now, what we can see now, is giving appreciation and getting appreciation, being understood. I think everybody is misunderstood. Everybody feels misunderstood. So how can we give people and obtain from people appreciation? And if you get that, you move to the next stage, which is affection. We need affection because we need encouragement. And one can only get encouragement from other people who accept one, even though they know one's faults and one's limitations. And affection is one of the ideals for which one is searching now, much more than liberty, equality, and fraternity. And finally, most people are barely alive. That is to say, most people survive. They go to work, they go into the underground, and they go to sleep after work, and they amuse themselves as best they can. But I would gladly share with you the results of the work we've been doing with people in the borough just next door to here. And we found that only 9% of the people there feel that they are fully alive. And most of them are overwhelmed by stress and the difficulties of their jobs and their families and their housing and their education and their disappointments. It is extraordinary how much stress there is in most people's lives. And so what we're doing now, thinking about what we can achieve in society, is to penetrate the isolation in which people live and find ways by which they can interact and have inspiration which they do not have. Most people just don't know many people, or they know them very superficially, and this Facebook craze shows how desperate people are to have friends, but of course the friends they have they don't know. And yesterday I got an email from LinkedIn saying, I trust you and therefore I want you to be my friend. I've never heard of this person, and I look it up and she's got 1,000 friends already. So this shows the desire for it, but not the achievement of it. Now, what are the obstacles in the way? One mustn't think one can just do things easily.